Saturday, September 1st, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, 2018. Guys, we're 45 days into the unique planetary arrangement, and Mercury has now officially brought us out of the planetary traffic jam, but not completely. All the rest of the planets are still back here behind the sun, sharing the same side, and will be for the next several weeks. We've been talking about this since January. In fact, I'll show you here in just a minute on Cosmographia. But we've been talking about this since January of 2018 and the possibility of a great quake of 2018. In fact, we put up a video January the 3rd discussing the possibility of a great quake between July 19th and August 28th of this year, heavy shake event. In this video, I put links to earthquake readiness, just in case, you live along a coast. What would you do if you got a tsunami warning? Do you have a plan? What if there were a large quake near the coastal areas of your community? What would you do? Just simply have a plan. That's all. There's nothing else we can do. Earthquakes have always happened, and they always will. The significant ones, like you see here, there's been 23 in the last 30 days, and this is at the USGS. And there was a great quake. Actually, it was on, according to the USGS, the 8.2. You guys all remember it was on August the 19th. And that does fall in that window right there we talked about back in January. There was an 8.2 in Fiji. It was very deep, thankfully, which eliminated damage. If that would have been shallow, there would have been a lot of damage. That was a very powerful earthquake. These are all of these significant earthquakes. There's an article that talks about the Earth has had 144 earthquakes, or major earthquakes, in the last week, and no one is talking about it. I'm going to read a little bit from this article here in just a minute. But what they're considering major earthquakes is anything over 4.5. So with regard to anything over 4.5, yeah, there's been several earthquakes, but looking at just the significant quakes, the quakes that can really do a lot of damage, and some did. In fact, here is a video clip. This is of the 7.3 in Venezuela. You can see this building shaking during the earthquake. It was a long earthquake. Everybody that experienced it commented on how long this earthquake was. This is the 7.3. You'll see this building shaking, and watch this car over here to the right. See the shaking building? Watch the car. That video was sent in by Natalie the day after that large quake right there. That's the 7.3. That created a small tsunami 100 miles away over in Trinidad, Tobago. But you can see the list here, 23 significant quakes, 6.9, and this is just the last 30 days. This doesn't include July. I'm sure there's at least a couple of more. 6.9 in Indonesia on August the 5th. And all of these are in this window here that we talked about back in January of 2018. 5.9 Indonesia. In fact, the island of Lombok, where most of these significant quakes occurred, has lifted now 10 inches as a result of these big quakes. 6.3 up in Alaska. 4.4, that's significant because of its location in California. And that's something that people are talking about, and they're also talking about in this article, is how quiet California has been with regard to the rest of the world. And that's not necessarily entirely true. There's an earthquake swarm that's underway in Southern California, where there's been several thousand small earthquakes down in the Southern California region that, kind of goes unmentioned because they're not big, but there's been plenty of earthquake activity in California. It's not like it's been completely quiet. 6.6 Alaska, and there was another 6.3 in Alaska. Japan saw 6.3, 6.5 Indonesia, 8.2 Fiji on August the 19th. And that was right in the middle, right towards the end of this earthquake watch that we talked about back in January. 8.2, and like I said, the saving grace of that was its depth. It was over 300 miles deep. 6.3 Indonesia, 6.3 Fiji, another one in Fiji, that was a big aftershock. 6.9 in Lombok, there's the 7.3 over here in Venezuela. 7.1 in Peru, right there. And we're not done yet, guys. There still could be a chance of large earthquakes. Here's one not too old, 48 hours old, just a little over 48 hours, in New Caledonia, a 7.1. So look for earthquake activity to continue, at least with regard to significant quakes. There's been a lot of movement here lately. There really has during this unique planetary arrangement. And like I said, we're not completely done yet. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Mercury has come around the bend, so to speak. I was using Jupiter as a guide right there. Okay. Down. All of the planets are still over here sharing one side. Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto's even over here, and many of the dwarf planets. We come in from Jupiter's side. Mercury has just come around the bend. See what I mean? So technically, we are no longer officially all sharing one side of the sun like we were. Mercury just came around the bend. However, the remainder of all of the planets, Earth, Venus, Mars, and the gas giants, are all still sharing one side of the sun. And let me show you something. We will for the next several weeks. We're going to step it forward in time. Let me speed it up a little bit. All right, there's September 3rd, 4th, 5th. Watch how long it takes. The gas giants are very slow. They're going to remain over here for quite some time. With regard to the planets in the middle, I'm talking about Venus, Earth, Mars, and Mercury. We are now at October 1st. Mercury's actually making one complete orbit and coming back in, putting us all behind the sun once again on October 14th. So we'll be back in the unique planetary arrangement mid-October. Look, once again, we're all sharing one side of the sun, so it's going to happen twice in the same year. We won't officially be out of this unique planetary arrangement until 2019. And what's interesting about this one is we are experiencing this during a solar minimum. Okay, let me stop it right here. That's November the 16th. And you can see Venus has come around. So Venus is on the other side, followed by, should be Earth or Mercury. It looks like Earth and Mercury are going to come across around the same time, around the 1st of December, the end of November of 2018. So it's going to happen twice in 2018. And then in December, Earth, Mercury, Venus, the solids will be coming around and balancing things out once again for quite some time. But we've been in and will continue to be in this planetary traffic jam for still many weeks to come. We do have one planet, Mercury, that has just came out. So we are not officially in a full 180 with all of the planets. But look for earthquake activity to continue. We've seen 23 just in the last 30 days. That's not including July 19th through the end of July. We've seen 23 significant quakes basically during the month of August. And that includes a megaquake of 8.2 magnitude. This article here talks about all of these earthquakes and how there's been no large earthquakes in California. But there's still been plenty of earthquakes in California. Just because there hasn't been a big one doesn't mean that there's going to be one anytime soon. Nobody knows. You know, I mean, there could be any day. But as far as just because there's been earthquakes everywhere else with regard to large quakes, that doesn't mean that there's going to be one. But Earth has been experiencing a heavy shake event these last few weeks with regard to big quakes. So look for them to continue. I would At least that's just my feeling on it, just simply because of we're still in this unique planetary position. About 90% will be for the next few weeks. Mercury, in fact, is going to make one complete lap around the sun, come back around and join us again for another full 180, and we'll all be sharing the same side of the sun for another 3 weeks. So interesting times we're living in, guys. Like I said, don't take your eye off the ball. Have an earthquake plan. You can find a good resource at this video I did back in January. It's called Earthquake Ready, and it's a website that kind of gets you thinking about what you would do during an earthquake. Earthquakes can occur anywhere on planet Earth, not necessarily on a fault zone. They happen off of fault zones all the time. So you just have to ask yourself, what would I do if, especially living along a coastal area, if I was involved in an earthquake that had a tsunami warning? Where would I go? What would I do? You know, where are my kids? You know, are they in school? Are they at home? What would I do if they were in school? You know, these are things that you need to at least think about and go through those scenarios in your mind. Don't dwell on them. Have a plan. Simple as that. Always have a plan. And then that way you don't panic. Then you lose. Panic is just another way of spelling lose. P-A-N-I-C is lose. So never panic. Have a plan and work it out in your mind. So that way, hopefully it'll never happen. But if it does, you've already gone through it and you know what to do. Simple as that. Just be ready. That's all. And you can find a link to a good resource right there in this video. All right, guys, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching. Have a super day and be safe out there.